Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I've got another video for you guys from Swagkage. This one talking about Madara versus Juubito, and this video was requested, so I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's just go ahead and watch the video.
Alright, what's going on everybody? Swagkage here. Welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about, as you can clearly see, it's going to be Madara versus Juubito. With me, I have my good pal Clyde.
Also, just to let you guys know now, before later in the video, um, if you're wondering why I'm lowering the volume, it's because I'm trying my best to avoid copyright, because sometimes these videos do include music from the actual anime, and if you know YouTube and music, you'll know that they are merciless. So just to let you guys know ahead of time.
Hey,
what's up, fellas?
And yeah, Clyde the Weebly, check him out. Link to his channel will be in the description. Another link you might see in the description, real quick before we get started. It's a link to our sponsor for today's video, sidekickart.com.
Okay, sorry, just
So this is a pretty sweet website. On it, you can buy canvases of. Moving on to the
here we
video,
go.
why don't you introduce the topic?
Alright, so today we're going to be doing Madara Uchiha from basically midway in the war.
Naruto
Right?
Shippuden.
Yeah, good old Shippuden, midway through the war, and it's going to be him with Hashirama's cells, so that Sage mode, not the Sage of the Six Paths
Yeah.
mode, versus Juubito.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's not.
Yeah, this was
Yeah, it's
like.
not Sage.
Yeah. We just we need to clarify that because people are obviously going to jump to it like, oh, what do you mean, Sage of the Six Paths storms? But anyway, so we're doing this topic because we mentioned it in the last video we collabed on, and we were talking about how much of a waste of a really cool fight we actually missed out on thanks to Naruto and Sasuke. But anyway, so we're going to get into basically how the fight would go in a hypothetical situation.
Yeah, so like you said, it's Madara with Hashirama's Sage mode. You
Mhm.
know, the one that he absorbed from Hashirama after.
Okay, so this is a live
Now,
Madara.
so let me make one thing clear. Neither of us think that Madara is stronger, faster, or whatever than Juubito.
Okay.
Even with the added Sage mode buff on top of, like his base mode. Like, he's really strong. He was able to fondle, like, everybody at once, even in base, but he's not stronger than fucking Juubito. That'd be ridiculous to claim that Juubito is, like, casually busting fucking continents and shit. Like, the Ten Tails fired off this gigantic Jubi blast, and you just see, like, all it did was go like, Rah! And then suddenly a mountain was gone. Now, I get it. Madara, he like fucking unsheathed this perfect Susanoo sword, and some mountaintops got blown up. But the Jubi is definitely a lot stronger. And then Obito also has Yin Yang release, so that nullifies all ninjutsu. So if Madara tries to use like Majestic Destroyer Flame or any of his ninjutsu, as a matter of fact, all Obito has to do is fire one of the truth-seeking orbs, and Madara's jutsu will get nullified. Plus, this well, another thing that I should specify, by the way, is this is Edo Madara. This isn't a live Madara, and I'll get into why that is in just a moment. So Madara doesn't have his Edo regeneration powers, at least not if Juubito hits him with any of the truth-seeking orbs. He's at a heavy disadvantage here. But both Clyde and I are led to believe that he'd be able to do at least a pretty decent job in the fight
Okay, hold on.
against Juubito, because his plan.
So we're talking Edo Madara with Hashirama's Sage chakra. Okay, but see, that's confusing because Madara only had Hashirama's Sage chakra when he was alive. So that's I'll admit that's a little confusing.
Plan was to absorb Hashirama's Sage Chakra and then use his Sage mode to fight Juubito, since Sage energy is the only thing capable of damaging a Jinchuriki of the Ten Tails.
We actually we spent a lot of time trying to make Madara win. Like, honestly, we both like Madara, so it's pretty obvious that was going to be the case. But it's not an easy fight at all. There's no actual guarantee that he's going to win for that matter. But like Rob just said, he actually had a plan to take down Juubito if things, if like shit hit the fan, and that basically entailed him using the Sage mode, because just like, he said once again that the only way to damage someone with that sort of jutsu and the fucking Ten Tails chakra and stuff is to actually use Sage energy. So
A lot of people would argue that Juubito could instant kill Madara by using the 6 Crimson Rays formation, where he created that massive Kage plus level barrier. Not Kage, this was a Hokage plus level barrier. It took all 4 of the first Hokage to make a 4-sided barrier of this scale, and Obito was able to make one with 6 different sides casually, like on his own. He just shot out some Rinnegan rods, and from them, I guess he just, released like a bunch of like chakra clusters, and they ended up forming a big fat red barrier powerful enough to keep every member of the allied shinobi forces inside. This barrier was so powerful that not even 4 Biju bombs like Juby level Biju bombs were able to blow it up. So it's a pretty impressive thing. Like the main thing worth pointing out isn't that Obito is capable of creating this barrier. It's that he can launch these 4 Juby blasts from inside the barrier, and in theory, Madara shouldn't be able to do anything about this. The thing is, I'm pretty sure that Madara would know exactly what's going on as soon as he sees Obito fire the Rinnegan rods, like, in different directions, because, I mean, I know that some of you might think it's a little bit of a stretch to say, well, Madara would see it coming, he'd know it because, he has the Rinnegan himself, he'd know what's about to happen after seeing the rods dropped in multiple different locations. It does sound like a bit of a stretch, but the thing is, like, Obito didn't need to be told how to do this. He just did it immediately. He shot out the rods, and then he was able to make the barrier. And so it's reasonable to assume that Madara would know how it works if Obito immediately knew how it worked as well. And that being said, I think because it took Obito a little while to shield himself from the oncoming Juby bombs, that Madara would be able to blitz him before he's able to close the barrier around himself. And I think that, like, in the scenario, I think Obito would know better than to leave himself open like this. Because, like I said, it took a while for the barrier to close around him, and Madara has an insta-kill move at his disposal, that being the Human Path's ability to rip out somebody's soul using the Rinnegan. So, the hypothetical scenario I'm getting at here is Juubito lays down the barrier, he summons the tree that fired the multiple Juby bombs at the same time, and then while that's charging up, since Madara knows what's going on, he would either, 1, attempt to blitz Obito, or he would try to get out of the barrier before it forms, leaving Obito stuck in there and forcing him to lower the barrier. I guess, he could try doing this multiple times, and eventually he might be able to trap Madara in here, but I don't think that it's something that, like, it's like a battle ender that makes it completely impossible for Madara to win here.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are going to get upset that you said that he could blitz Juubito, but we have some pretty decent evidence to back up the fact that he could keep up with him in speed. Whether it's blitzing or not doesn't really matter. We know that they're in the same category of speed because Madara was able to react to Tobirama, which Juubito was not really able to do. On top of that, Madara was also, like, casually, this was the most casual fucking thing ever. He just whips out the Uchiha shield and he's like, Naruto, can you just, like, take that Rasengan back, please? And then it was... That's a pretty big deal because it was KZM mode 2, and we know how fast that is. Like, it shits on the Raikage, so that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's also worth getting into. When I say blitz, I don't mean that, Madara is going to fucking destroy Obito before he can react. But here's the thing. Obito is surrounded by a barrier made out of truth-seeking orbs, and if I remember correctly, it is composed of all of the truth-seeking orbs that he has at his disposal.
See, okay, here's where I'm getting confused. When they talked about, hold on, let me just bring it back for a sec. Okay, when they were talking about this, they said that they were specifically talking about Edo Madara with Hashirama Sage Chakra. Okay. The reason why I'm confused as to why they use this as an example is because this was a live Madara, not Edo Madara. And while I do still believe that Edo Madara would have still, with Hashirama Sage Chakra, because it's been established that if you're using natural energy, your senses are enhanced to insane levels. But the thing is that it's also been established that the Edo versions of characters are not as powerful as they were when they were alive. So I still don't know if, again, I still believe Edo Madara would have dodged, but at the same time, they're using an example from a live Madara, not Edo Madara. It's just a little confusing. That's all. They said that they were talking about a specific version of Madara, yet they're using examples from Madara when he was alive, which is established that alive versions of a person is stronger than the Edo version of the character, even though the Edo version has the regeneration and the infinite supply of chakra. They're still nowhere near as strong as they were when they were alive. And the thing that bothers me the most about this is that, yes, Madara was able to avoid Hashirama when he was using Flying Raijin, but at the same time, they talked about how Madara was able to avoid Tobirama, whereas Obito wasn't. And I know the example that they're talking about, what happened in the show. But at the same time, that made no goddamn sense because if you remember when Obito, it happened right when he gained control of the Ten Tails and he became like a full on Jinchuriki. He had the truth seeking orbs, the staff, and everything. When um, when Minato attacked him using Flying Raijin, Obito was able to instantly react to him. Like it showed you just how fast that Obito was, that he was able to react to Minato using Flying Raijin, whom I think it was established that Minato was even better at using Flying Raijin than even Tobirama, and he's the one who made the goddamn technique. And when Minato tried to get away from him, Obito still reacted faster to him by placing a truth-seeking orb next to him and set to explode. And it was basically going to kill everyone, but then Tobirama came in. And this is where I'm confused. Tobirama came in and, excuse me, he was able to give the truth-seeking orb back to Obito. But Obito didn't react to that, but he was able to react to Minato. See, it's so goddamn confusing. That's why to me, like if I were to do this, I wouldn't use this as an example because just this alone, Kishimoto contradicted himself so many goddamn times in this. Not just with this, but in the entire arc itself. It's one of the reasons why so many people don't like this arc because so many things happen. Like I said, that just keep contradicting what already happened.
But that Madara was also like casually. This was the most casual fucking thing ever. He just whips out
Sorry,
the Uchiha.
where was it? Where were we? Yeah, here.
To fucking destroy Obito before he can react. But here's the thing. Obito is surrounded by a barrier made out of truth-seeking orbs, and if I remember correctly, it is composed of all of the truth-seeking orbs that he has at his disposal. See, here's the one thing that a lot of people don't know about is that the tailed beast. I'm sorry, the truth-seeking ball barriers that Madara and Obito are able to create. They have different levels. There's one level that only uses 2 of them. That's pretty weak. A guy was actually able to break through one of these, and then there's like the one at the very top that uses all of the truth-seeking orbs at once, and this was able to block a combined Sage attack from Sage Mode Sage Mode KCM2 Naruto. It was a Sage Mode enhanced Biju Bomb and a Sage Mode enhanced Susanoo arrow from Sasuke at the same time, but this chipped off a little bit of the shield. So I think the fact that Obito was confident that the shield wouldn't even budge, that it would protect him from any damage that 4 Jubi blasts were going to cause, I think that it's safe to assume that this was going to use like all 6 of the orbs because, 6 of the orbs, like that, a shield composed of that cracked in response to the pressure created by a 9 Tails Biju Bomb and a Susanoo arrow, which are significantly weaker than the 4 Jubi blasts that we're talking about here. What I'm getting at here is Obito doesn't have any of the truth-seeking orbs to use offensively. They're all being used to create this barrier. And in that case, he wouldn't be able to sick any of them on Madara while he's approaching him. And like Clyde just pointed out, Madara was fast enough to react to Tobirama, and Obito wasn't. See, Tobirama used Flying Thunder God to try and, catch Madara by surprise from behind, but Madara immediately reacted to this and stuck a bunch of Rinnegan rods into Tobirama's body, leaving him immobilized. But see, Obito wasn't able to react to something very similar, which was Tobirama teleporting Sage Mode Naruto, who was holding Rasengan, to his backside. And I know you might be able to be like, well, Obito got blitzed from behind, so it's not the same, but so did Madara, and Naruto was able to effortlessly slap him with a Rasengan.
See, again, like I said, that makes no goddamn sense.
And this is very interesting. At the very least, their reaction times are comparable, and so I think Madara would be able to react to any non-truth-seeking ball attacks that Obito fired at him, and in that case, he'd probably be able to attack him before the barrier closes. That's all that I'm trying to say. I know it took a very long time for me to explain this one scenario, but I know that a lot of people are going to bring up the 6 Crimson Rays formation, and now that we've got that out of the way, let's move on to every other aspect of the fight. Alright, so now I guess we should start comparing the ninjutsu that they have access to now that we've gotten past that little scenario. So why don't you go ahead and start talking about Madara's arsenal? Because he has quite a few more jutsu at his disposal, barring the yin-yang stuff.
He does indeed. So whenever I think of Madara, I like to compare him to Kakashi in terms of the fact that, Kakashi's known as the man with 1,000 jutsu, and The same can be applied with Madara. I have no doubt that he's got as many jutsu for sure, because he barely whipped any of them out, but we know that he's very versed in everything. So obviously he's got all of the nature types. He can use basically everything that we've already seen. And another thing he can do, which a lot of people don't think about because it just never happened, is obviously the fight between him and Juubito never happened. So we never got to see him mix, obviously the Hashirama Sage Mode chakra slash energy with his perfect Susanoo, which he could use against Juubito.
That would make his perfect Susanoo significantly more powerful. Like, it took Naruto from, like, average lifting strength to being able to lift a massive fucking rhinoceros. And, he was able to, like, punch apart. I mean, like, Naruto's strength went up significantly. It was, like, comparable to Tsunade's. So, Madara with an amp like that, it's no fucking joke. And I think that the best way to explain it is Madara was comparable with his Rinnegan to Sage Mode Hashirama. And when so you give him Hashirama Sage Mode, and it's like Sage Hashirama went Sage Mode on top of that. And that's a ridiculous thing to try and fucking imagine. Now, it doesn't make him as strong as Obito, but it makes his Susanoo more powerful, it makes all of his jutsu more powerful, and like Clyde said, he has pretty much every nature type aside from the Kekkei Genkai ones. It makes sense that he, during the Warring States period, he would have used his Sharingan to copy a whole bunch of different Senju jutsu, and, he's also got all of the Rinnegan abilities. I imagine since the Rinnegan originally belonged to him, he's better at using them than Obito would be.
I'd comfortably say yeah for sure, because it wouldn't be such a chakra drain on top of
Well,
it. And another thing too was obviously
the thing about that is that I think they kind of established that Madara only had the Rinnegan for a little bit before he decided to give it to Obito, and which not actually, now that I think about it, that didn't. Oh, okay, no, wait, never mind. I just remembered why he actually gave Obito not Obito, why he gave Nagato the Rinnegan so he could use Rinne Reverse to bring him back. So I just forgot about that for a second. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, while something that's always kind of made me, I guess, a little frustrated is that, we've seen other Rinnegan users in this series, and yet the only person we've seen properly utilize the insane hacks abilities of the Rinnegan was Nagato. Now, that's understandable because Nagato had the Rinnegan for such a long time, so obviously he would have had years to master its abilities. But the thing is, okay, so I'm willing to make an exception as to why Madara doesn't, Madara wouldn't really know how to properly use the Rinnegan. But the thing is that Madara, a lot like Sasuke, was established to be like an insane, almost unnatural genius. Like, they're able to almost instantly figure out how to use certain abilities. I mean, look at what happened with Sasuke. He got the Rinnegan from the Sage of Six Paths, and while he didn't have, you could say he didn't have full 100% mastery of it after getting it, which does make sense since he only just got it, the things that he was able to do in the war arc after only just getting the Rinnegan shows you that people like Sasuke and Madara are like almost on another level when it comes to learning new abilities. Like, they can learn them almost quicker than anyone. The only one I would say is comparable to them is, you could say, obviously the Sage of Six Paths, any member of the Otsutsuki clan, and then there's Naruto Uzumaki. And the only reason why Naruto is even on that level is because he got power from the Sage of Six Paths when he got Six Paths Sage Mode, which also gives him an understanding of all things chakra. If he doesn't have that, then yeah, no. Even though Naruto is better than a lot of people give him credit for, if he didn't get that, I would say, yeah, I mean, he would still be powerful, insanely powerful, but not as powerful as he would be if he didn't get the understanding of all things. And so, yeah, when it comes to their point of he would be able to, I know a lot of people bring up the point, well, Nagato, the thing is, Nagato had the Rinnegan for 30 years, and Madara only just got it. But again, like I said, you gotta remember, Madara and Sasuke have shown in the series to have an almost insane understanding of techniques. Like, it's one of the, I guess, one of the benefits of being members of the Uchiha clan. But even among the Uchiha, they're considered like insanely talented. I mean, Itachi alone was, I mean, you saw you if you saw the series, you don't need me to tell you. But yeah, that's all I have to say on that.
So the Sage Mode gives him a strength increase, and if you know, we're not going to get into the technicalities of this, but you could make the argument that thanks to the buff with the Perfect Susanoo, he can swing a lot harder, and we can see that with the casual swing, he can cut mountains in half, which could definitely be in the strength tier to damage Juubito.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, Naruto with with his QB avatar, once like Sasuke cloaked the QB avatar in the Susanoo, Obito was like, all right, I got to use my full power now. This is the sword of Ninaboko. And so that's pretty interesting. So if they together were able to do that, Madara, I'm not saying that Madara's Sage Mode Perfect Susanoo would be on the same level as that fucking monstrosity that was made from combining the Susanoo and the QB avatar. But I will say that it would definitely be in it would be somewhere around the level.
It is.
Sorry, again, I know I keep pausing, but I really don't want to talk over the video. But again, the thing that didn't make sense about that is Naruto and Sasuke at that level, while they were powerful, I still wouldn't say they were as powerful as someone like, let's say, for example, Hashirama. Hashirama was like, Kishimoto made him way too broken. And Hashirama himself even said that, yeah, Obito right now is stronger than me. Now, it's up to debate whether he was talking about, his current version, the Edo version, or when he was alive. I think it would be safe to say it was when he was alive. And Hashirama said, this guy is stronger than me. So, even if Naruto and Sasuke combined, it still shouldn't have been anywhere near enough for them to be able to take on Obito. Like, Obito should have still slapped them down into the ground and just killed them.
It definitely is. It definitely is. I have no doubt that it would be. And especially with the way that Madara is so when he first used the Perfect Susanoo, it was clearly to display what it can do. If he was to use it seriously, I'm sure it would be completely different. So obviously, like we said, with the Sage buff, it would be a very good weapon for him to use against Juubito.
Again, we might finally be able to see him use his Mangekyo Sharingan powers in this fight. That'd be pretty nice. He never used them any time in the series, and that was a really big letdown. So I don't know what they are, but maybe they'll assist him in some way. The biggest thing, though, I didn't mention this when I just brought up Wood release, but he also has all of his Wood clones, and he's additionally capable of using Shadow clones, as seen when he left the Shadow clone in the casket that Tobirama had him buried in. So all of this said, he has a lot more tools to take Obito down than Obito would in the reverse situation. And on top of that, I really think that his Wood clones are going to help him out here, especially because he has unlimited chakra given.
I mean, the only thing that I have to say about that, the Wood clones, is, remember, Obito should technically have access to Wood style too, because a lot of his body was made up of Hashirama cells. So he should have Wood style too, to combat Madara's Wood style. And the only thing that I would say would give Madara a slight edge is the fact that, like they said, he has an unlimited supply of chakra, and Obito, while he's the 10-tailed Jinchuriki, would have an insane amount of chakra. If the fight were to go on for long enough, I feel like eventually, and again, this is a big if, eventually Obito would start to run out of chakra, and whereas Madara would still have an unlimited supply of chakra. And I don't remember if it was established, but I don't think Edo Tenseis ever get tired.
His Edo Tensei state. Now,
So I think that would work in Madara's advantage.
on the other hand, he basically just has all of the yin yang attacks and the Rinnegan. He also has insane speed, strength, and durability. He casually and effortlessly blitzed KCM Naruto and EMS Sasuke. It was no effort whatsoever. They couldn't do anything. He was just, in one spot 1 second, and then the next he had both of his hands wrapped around their fucking faces. And, he was able to react to multiple acts of teleportation from both Tobirama and Minato. It's fucking ridiculous how fast this guy is. But, I think to compare his speed to Madara, it's one thing that I think is overlooked by a lot of people is that in the manga, when he's speaking to Kabuto about the Hashirama implants, Madara says, "Oh, so this is why I've been able to see so many things ahead of time with such ease when he takes a look at the Hashirama face on his chest. I'm not forgetting that Obito has Hashirama implants, but I'm pretty sure that Madara has access to quite a few more, and they increased his reaction speed to by a significant amount. Like he even says this to Kabuto, and so then when you stack Sage Mode, which gives a person even greater sensory capabilities and even greater reaction speed, and he also has both of his Rinnegan, it's like holy shit. He might be able to react to a lot of what Juubito is capable of throwing out.
But,
So we've laid out everything that Madara.
wait, I thought Obito, like half of his body. Well, actually, half of his body was technically made of white Zetsu. And white Zetsu was created using Hashirama cells. So, I guess you could argue that maybe, maybe the Hashirama implants that Obito has are sort of on a it's I guess you say it's more of a diluted version of Hashirama cells if they were technically, because I think if I remember correctly, white Zetsus are, or at least they were at first before Kishimoto changed it, is that at first they were attempts to clone Hashirama, but they were sort of like they didn't turn out right and they turned into what they are. And I guess Hashirama would technically have like pure, straight from the source Hashirama cells, which would make him a lot stronger. I don't know. To me, that just seems a little weird.
Can do, and pretty much everything that Obito can do. Obito doesn't really have a lot of jutsu. I don't want to seem like we're underselling him, but
No.
his main thing was just Kamui and Fire Style. He has a couple wood
I
style
mean,
jutsu.
Kamui's a pretty
not
broken
really
jutsu, so if
that
you're
many.
gonna
He
use
hasn't
it,
shown off a whole lot, and he doesn't have access to Kamui anymore. So it's I guess he'd probably rely mostly on all of the Ten Tail stuff.
And another thing is that we're not even really like wanking Madara at all, because at this point in the series, he's obviously not the strongest that he's ever been, but he never really went all out at all. So we're basically going off of a Madara who was purposely fucking around for the majority of the war. But as for who would actually win the fight, obviously this is a matter of like, it's a very situational based fight. It really comes down to who attacks in what certain way. I'm pretty confident with Madara. Obviously, I do like him a lot, but I'm very confident that he would find a way to win because, I mean, he did state that, he was thanking Naruto and Sasuke for dealing with Juubito because he would have had to do it himself. So obviously, he had the confidence and pre-thought that it was going to happen.
I don't want to count Obito out here. I think that with the Jubi Jinchuriki, he would be really hard. Like if Madara wins, it would be like a 9.95 out of 10 difficulty. This would be the hardest fight he's ever participated in, without a shadow of a doubt. I think. I guess aside from the ones against Hashirama.
I definitely agree because even the word of, straight from the horse's mouth, like Hashirama literally says, yeah, this dude's stronger than me, so that defines how strong, like, this guy is. And Madara obviously got stronger, he really did, but to say that so casually would imply that this is an enemy that Madara is going to have the most trouble with out of just about anybody.
Now, he does know a lot about the Six Paths powers. He was able to start using them with ease immediately after becoming the Jinchuriki of the Ten Tails. So, he'd probably know what he's going up against. And, like you said to me before we started recording, he said something while he was watching the fight, like, oh, so the Sage of Six Powers, they really do exist, meaning he knew what they were, and he knew what to expect going into the fight. On top of that, he probably spent the entire battle against Hashirama observing Obito's fight with everybody, so he'd have a lot more intel on Obito than Obito does on him. The first thing is that Madara could use Zetsu to immobilize Obito at some point, and I'm not saying he'd do this right off the bat. It'd have to be when Obito's guard is down or when he's weakened. But you shouldn't count Zetsu out because he was able to immobilize dual Rinnegan Jubi Jinchuriki Madara. So he'd definitely be able to do the same to Obito given the right circumstances. But I also think that if Obito does pull out the Sword of Ninoboko and he gets into like a Susanoo clash with Madara, Madara could take the win here by weakening Obito's resolve by saying something about like Rin or whatever, All it would take was a bit of a psychological warfare. The Sword of Ninoboko would break and Madara would have the win.
And a lot of people will say straight away, they will argue the point that no, that's too easy, but you need to realize that Madara is the only parental figure that Obito has really had. He's basically a father in a sense, regardless of how much of a dick he kind of was to Obito, but still, he is a father figure, and the fact that he would whip that out mid-fight, like, I'm pretty sure Rin wouldn't like this, like, that would fuck with him straight away.
Even if it was just for a split second, yeah, it would fuck with him.
Well, the only parental figure, I would have to disagree with that. Yeah, I mean, Obito himself straight up said, like, yeah, here's the thing, I never saw you as a comrade. I mean, he even told him, like, straight up, like, yeah, listen, I know you never once saw me as a comrade. I know you're only using me so you can get what you want. The only reason why you haven't gotten rid of me yet is because you want me to use Rinne Rebirth to bring you back alive, because you know you can't become the Ten Tails Jinchuriki while you're still in Edo Tensei. So remember, like, basically right now I own you. And while Madara still wasn't worried, he was still kind of impressed that, you know, like, yeah, I'm okay. Looks like you've grown up. Like, you're not the same kid from that cave. So yeah, I gotta disagree with that. I don't think that would. I disagree with the whole parental thing, but I do think that Madara would know enough to tell him, like, yeah, to try to use Rin. And remember, I think he will tell him that I was the one who sort of, you know, convinced Rin to jump in front of that, or I was the one who put Rin into the position to where she becomes the Jinchuriki of the Three Tails, and then she would be forced to jump in front of Kakashi's lightning blade and then kill herself to protect the leaf, and so on and so forth. And I do believe that would fuck with Obito enough to weaken his resolve so that Madara would win that. Even though I still think it wouldn't make sense for him to win because of how Obito is strong, of how strong Obito is, sorry. At the same time, we are talking about someone who lost to Naruto and Sasuke, and characters who are confirmed to be weaker than Hashirama, who outright, like they said, stated, this guy is stronger than me. So, I don't know, dude, the whole war arc is a fucking mess.
I'm gonna have to break the sword of Ninaboko, and, you know, that'd be that. But if Madara is not able to pull any of this off, he'll probably get fucking erased. Like, he makes one mistake, and that's it. It depends on whether or not he can outsmart Obito here. And, you know, it's just...
Yeah, and it's not beneath Madara. It's not beneath Madara. I definitely believe that he would do that in a bad situation, and he'd keep his cool. But yeah, it's not something out of character. It feels like if Madara was like, all right, this is getting a bit out of hand, I'm gonna fuck with Obito and then put him off guard.
I can imagine Kishimoto writing it so that Madara wins, but, you know, I'm not going to dismiss the possibility that Juubito would come out on top. I think that it's far more likely that Obito would win, but it is pretty possible for Madara to come away with a win here. The biggest thing that I think would give Madara an advantage is
possible
get up close to Obito and use the Rinnegan to absorb the Six Paths chakra. At that point, if he manages to do that, then he'll probably be able to come away with a win. But if not, then it really depends. Even if Madara doesn't win solo, I'm pretty sure, like, reasonably, some other members of the Allied Shinobi forces would see that he's turned against Obito, and they'd just be like, well, let's take fucking advantage of this. Juubito's been killing everybody. Let's, you know, help him out. They'd help him mobilize Obito. Then Madara would, you know, take the Jubi and then become a Jinchuriki. I just, if this fight were to happen, Kishimoto would definitely find some way to make Madara win, ass pull or not. Pull or not. I mean, like, he fucking introduced Izanami just to have Kabuto lose to Itachi.
Yeah.
But given everything we've seen so far, I'd say it's like, I'm like 60% for Juubito, 40% for Madara. Maybe more like 65 or 70 for Juubito. It's just like, it's a really hard argument to say that Madara wins, but I do think that it's very possible that he could come away with a victory. Yeah, really, just, I guess, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know any future versus battle, like me or the two of us to cover. And, yeah, until my next video, talk to you guys later. Don't forget,
check out Sidekick.
Okay, I think that's the video. And like they said, check out the, I don't know if it's still going on, but if it is, go ahead. There's I think the link is in the description. But yeah, look, if I'm being honest, like I probably made it clear in the video, I don't really see Madara winning this fight. The only way I can see him winning is, like they said in the end, is if Kishimoto were to introduce some, like, just ass-pullish technique in order for Madara to actually win the fight. if Historia says that Madara wins the fight, Kishimoto will find some way for Madara to win the fight. I mean, like they brought up, look what happened with Itachi and Sasuke versus Kabuto. He literally introduced a technique that was never set up, a technique that just came out of thin fucking air, just so Itachi and Sasuke could win. So I have no problem believing that he would do the same thing in order for Madara to win. As for everything they said in the video, again, I can see where they're coming from, but personally, I just think that Obito was just too fucking strong. And while I don't downplay Madara and his capabilities, I just don't see Madara realistically coming out of this alive. I think that Juubito was just too goddamn strong, which is, honestly, if you think about it, and I've said this in previous videos, but if you're new to my channel, if this is the first video you're watching and you don't really know my opinion on anything, one thing that I've pointed out multiple times in any video where I'm talking about Naruto, or specifically when I'm covering the Boruto manga, the biggest problem with Kishimoto as a writer is he always has this tendency to make certain characters either too strong, or he gives them these insane hack abilities. And once he does that, he always, too late, ends up realizing that, oh wait, in the future this character is supposed to lose, but based on what he's able to do now, the person that he's supposed to lose to can't realistically beat him. So I'm gonna have, he purposely makes characters either A, forget that they have certain abilities, or B, they just purposely don't use them. Or sometimes C, like what happened again with Itachi and Sasuke, he just introduces this insane ass bullish out of nowhere technique that gives whoever was supposed to win the fight the edge. Like, just for example, again, I've brought this example up before. Look at the fight between Naruto and Sasuke versus either Jigen or Ishiki, whichever version you want to use. Considering the insane abilities that Naruto and Sasuke had access to at the time, you would think that they would have still come out on top, or at least tried to use those techniques to come out on top, to try and win, considering who they're going up against. But they didn't do that. And it's just, to me, it was so obvious what was happening. It was so obvious because Kishimoto wanted Ishiki to win. And he purposely made Naruto and Sasuke just either forget that they have access to certain abilities. Like, for example, Sasuke has access to all of the Rinnegan's abilities, which gives someone an insane advantage in any fight. Never uses a single goddamn one of them except the Amino Tejikara, or his time-space ninjutsu abilities, if you don't know what that means. And when it comes to Naruto, remember, he has access to the chakra of the other tailed beasts, which give him access to insane abilities. Never uses a goddamn one of them. He does use Six Path Sage Mode, which has been established. If you saw the Six Path Sage Mode video I reacted to by Swagkage, it used to be one of the most broken abilities anyone could have, but then the second that fight happened, it's like all of a sudden that means absolutely nothing. And look, I get that they're fighting against the Otsutsuki, but the thing is, Naruto and Sasuke have been established to be a hell of a lot stronger than they were back then. To the point where remember, they weren't at full power, and they were fighting Momoshiki, a fused Momoshiki, who is a character that is established to be stronger than even Kaguya. And yet, Naruto and Sasuke fought this guy, no problem, while not even at full strength. And then Ishiki comes in, who, yes, they established him to be strong, but for me, it's hard for me to believe that he's even stronger than Kaguya, because it was established in the story that those two come in pairs. That Otsutsuki usually go to each planet in pairs, and I would imagine that maybe, while Ishiki would be stronger than Kaguya, I can't imagine him being much stronger than Kaguya, but because they wanted him to be, powerful, they had to weaken Naruto and Sasuke. And that's usually, again, a problem with Kishimoto's writing. And I'm sorry I went off on that rant at the end, but every time I think about that, I can't help but rant about it. Anyway, I'm sorry about that. So I'm just gonna end this video right here, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Remember to like the video, share the video, subscribe if you're not. And if you are subscribed, do me a favor, check to make sure you are still subscribed. And then remember to click on the bell icon to let you know whenever I post a new video or whenever I go live. Thank you so much again, as always. Remember to stay safe and take care of yourselves, and look forward to the next reaction. Bye for now.